As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 126. And we're actually not talking about the games we played back in the day. We're talking about a movie we watched back in the day that was about the games we played back in the day. Several games, in fact, including one big one. It's the big title of this movie. It's one of the most requested titles since this whole podcast launched. This week, we are finally talking about the Power Glove wearing, Double Dragon mastering, Mario 3 debuting, Californiaaaa flick that starred the kid from the Wonder Years. It's the fucking Wizard. My good buddy, gaming nerd, and movie geek Tyler returns to the podcast this week. You might remember him from such episodes as the Super Mario Brothers movie review and the Halo 2 episode we did and a whole bunch of other ones. And we spent a good hour talking about how bad yet good this stupid movie is. And full warning, this episode does contain spoilers. The movie is fucking 30 years old, so eat me. And speaking of eating me, it is time for our famous Remember the Game Industries Infamous Intro. That's the official name now. I'm not going to say the famous part every time, but we're going with the Remember the Game Industries Infamous Intro. That's going to be what it's called. I like that. I just thought of that. I like that. Fuck yeah. Never forget, as always, there are timestamps in the description box of this podcast telling you exactly when to skip to if you're only here for the Wizard talk or fucking whatever. Feel free to leave me a bad review if you don't like the episode or the podcast. You're welcome to do that. But if it's about the length of the intro, you will be mocked mercilessly. Ask the last couple people that left those intros because I know it's long. Most of you have said you like it long. And for those of you that are uncomfortable with really long things, I left the directions right there in the box telling you when to skip to. No more complaint. Well, you can keep complaining about it, but I'm not just going to make funny. I don't care anymore. We're not changing it. I thought about changing it. Everyone said don't change it, so no changes are coming. And on the topic of bad reviews, if you haven't checked out my weekly gaming news show Game Patch yet, it doesn't have any bad reviews yet. anyways. I don't think. Last time I checked, it didn't. It's my weekly modern gaming news podcast where I basically do what I do here. I swear and struggle to form complete sentences and all that kind of stuff. But we're talking PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, everything's, Nintendo Switches, all the biggest news in the world of current video games. You can find Game Patch wherever you get podcasts. New episodes go live every Monday morning. Or, there it is, sign up for our Patreon and you'll get it 3 days early. Just like Silvered Grunion and Tony Shirachetti. I think I said that right. I hope so. I hope I did. If I didn't, I'm Tony. I'm sorry. But you can sign up and get it 3 days early on Patreon, just like Silvered Grunion and Tony did. Thank you both so much. Welcome to Remember the Game Industries. And this is actually the best time of the month to sign up because it charges you the day you register, and then you get charged on the first of every month moving forward. So if you sign up right now, you get a whole month of perks for just the $2, right? It's the change in your car's ashtray. It's December 2nd when this episode goes live. You get the whole month. You'll get Game Patch every Friday morning, early access. You don't have to wait till Monday. You can start your weekend off with the biggest gaming news from my fucking mouth. Plus, you get access to our Patreon exclusive gaming podcast, Expansion Pass, plus all the old episodes of it. There's over 50 bonus podcasts waiting for you. And it's things like game reviews, ranking lists, discussions about historical gaming events, just all kinds of fun video game talk. Last week, we broke down the games that we should love but don't. And I think this week, I'm going to do a list people have been asking for quite a while, and I'm going to rank my top 10 favorite RPGs. That's been one that's been on the list forever. On the topic suggestion list forever. So I'm going to rank my favorite RPGs. That'll be this Sunday's episode. And then in addition to getting all the extra podcasts, you can pick the games we cover on Remember the Game. You can submit comments to be read on all the shows. You get access to our new Discord service. And most importantly, goddammit, you can support me and support Remember the Game Industries. Almost 150 of you doing that now. When we get to 200, I'm sending everyone a Remember the Game lanyard and a thank you note. God, like $2 might seem like nothing. I know. I listen to other podcasts with these Patreons, and I'm like, they're fine. And yeah, I'm fine. Like, I have food, but boy, it really helps keep these things ad-free or very close to ad-free. It keeps them, out of behind paywalls and all that stuff. So $2, patreon.com/Remember the Game. And as I mentioned, one of the perks you get is you get to vote for games we cover here on Remember the Game. And our Patreon poll for December is live right now. They always run about the first week of the month. Every month, our Patreons pick one game that we cover, and they're made up of a list of games that you guys have asked for that I've just never played to review. And the nominees on this month's Patreon poll are River City Ransom for the NES, ActRaiser for the Super Nintendo, Gunstar Heroes for the Sega Genesis, NBA Jam on the Super Nintendo. I know it's on everything, but I have the Super Nintendo version. RBI Baseball for the NES, and the remastered version of the original Resident Evil. For the GameCube, I will be playing it on probably PS4, but it's the GameCube version. The one that originally came out on GameCube. So anyway, those are your 6 options. You can vote now. That poll will be running until Monday night. So get in there if you're interested, if you want to support us. Patreon.com/Remember the Game. No more Patreon plugs, I promise. And then as always, you guys know I got to plug my Twitch really quick. I stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday nights from 8 to 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Look for Member the Game on Twitch, not Remember, Member the Game at twitch.tv. You can watch me play video games, chat with me. I chat back with you. It's lots of fun. And don't forget, December 18th and 19th, we'll be streaming for 24 straight hours to raise money for the Stollery Children's Hospital here in Edmonton. So you can gather the kids by the fire and watch me swear and eat donaires for 24 straight hours. And that'll be a lot of fun. And that's all my self-promotion, you guys. I'm done. I try to get through it as fast as I can, but I have to do it. It's my job. That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow you guys. That's the segue I need to just get used to saying. And let's blow in the cartridge. It's the opening segment of the show each week. I read a few comments and questions from our Patreons, usually gaming related, but not always. We call it blowing in the cartridge. It's a lot of fun. So let's blow. And the first cartridge I'll be blowing in this week is Stupid Monkeys. And Stupid Monkey said, if the Venom symbiote makes up Eddie Brock's clothes, does that mean he's just freeballing in that ooze? You know what, Stupid Monkey? Truth, I swear on my life, I've thought this exact same thing. Is he, if you don't know anything about the character Venom, I don't know if anyone listening to this doesn't, but if you don't know anything about Venom, he's a anti-hero. He's a villain/hero in the Marvel universe. He's a rival of Spider-Man, and he's a dude named Eddie Brock who gets a hold of an alien symbiote, which, as the monkey mentioned, it's just like black ooze. It's just a blob of black ooze, but when it gets a hold of someone and attaches to somebody, it kind of takes over their body, and then they can make it in anything they want. So Eddie Brock can turn into big, badass, cool-looking Venom, but he can also just make it look like regular street clothes. He can do whatever. So I've wondered that too. Is he wearing clothes under there, or is he just walking around naked covered in alien. I've also wondered if he, like, when he showers, does the alien just go inside of him, or does he take the alien off? I assume it just goes inside of him. But anyway, we're talking clothes, not showers. So now in the Maximum Carnage comic books, which I highly recommend if you're a Spider-Man fan, that's when Venom and Spider-Man and friends team up to fight Carnage and friends. There's a scene where Carnage has Eddie Brock captured. He's torturing him. He's like wrapped up in chains. He's in the Statue of Liberty. He's tied up in chains. And the symbiote's basically gone. And if my memory serves me correctly, he's just wearing like a Speedo or something, because obviously they weren't going to draw him naked in the comic book. So I am going to say, out of respect for the symbiote, Eddie's rocking something under that alien suit. Maybe it's just a Speedo or tidy whities or something, but he's rocking some underwear under there. I feel like they wouldn't have the tight relationship they do if Eddie was just constantly dropping a sweaty teabag on his alien buddy. So I think he's wearing some underwear under there. I don't think he's free balling, as you so gracefully put it. Great question. I really have thought about that. That's how I love that we're starting the episode off with whether or not Eddie Brock is naked under the symbiote. That's Remember the Game Industries right fucking there, baby. Well done. Ben wrote into us and said, reports have popped up that the original writers of the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie trilogy would like to make a fourth movie in the same style with the costumes and everything. Seth Rogen is also working on an animated Turtles movie, much like 2007's TMNT. Which would you prefer? Now, I'm a pretty big Ninja Turtles fan, as most of you probably know. And honestly, I'd prefer anything that just gets me another Turtles movie. Like, I'm fine with either of these options. But if you're putting a gun to my head and you're making me pick which one I want to see more, I might not be the popular take, but I actually think I might prefer the animated one. Like, I love those original Ninja Turtles movies. If you've ever come by my Twitch stream, I actually have a reproduction of the first Ninja Turtles poster hanging in my office right behind my desk. I love that. I love that movie. And I'd love to see what they could do with that today and with the costumes and all that kind of stuff. But I do also think they're limited in what they can do with a real life film. And I know CGI, and you look at Avengers and some of the movies today and like it's opened up. You can pretty well do anything you want. But computer animation to me just opens so many more doors. I feel like it just works better with the Ninja Turtles art style. I didn't particularly care for TMNT, the movie. I thought the story with the statues and Patrick Stewart and stuff was kind of boring, but I fucking love the animation in that movie and the way the four turtles treat each other. Like the rooftop fight between Raphael and Leonardo in the rain might be the best 3 minutes in any Turtles movie ever made, aside from the Vanilla Ice concert in Turtles 2. So I would love to see, and honestly, I'm excited to see what Seth Rogen, forget the computer animated or not animated. Seth Rogen is at the helm of the ship for that movie. And that has me excited because, Rogen's a fan. He knows the Turtles. I like Seth Rogen. I have faith in him. So yeah, I think I'd prefer the animated one, but like I'd be lying if I said that I won't be lined up day one to watch either or both of these movies. Like more Turtles is almost always a good thing. So I fucking really hope I'm not going to get into it, but there was originally plans for, like, they had kicked around an idea for a fourth Turtles movie. Read about it, like where the turtles were going to be like mutating into like future forms and stuff because the mutagen in their bodies was acting up, but like it's never happened. Obviously, you can Google it if you want to hear more about that. This isn't a Turtles podcast, maybe someday, but not yet. And then finally, as you guys you may or may not know, every week I let one person be distinguished as sending in the official Letter Time letter of the week, and this week that honor goes to Vincent L. So with that said, it's letter time. It's letter time. And Vincent L. wrote into us on Patreon and said, so I hear that you have never given any game a 10 out of 10 grade on your show other than Super Mario Brothers 3? For the record, Vincent, it was Super Mario World, but that's okay. Vincent continues, I have the same sentiment about Star Fox 64. Yeah, I have a ton of memories of that game growing up, but every time I crank it up on my Nintendo 64, I know I'm about to play a fun, fast-paced game with an easy-to-follow plot, lovable, wholesome characters, and a kick-ass soundtrack. Star Fox 64 is a wholesome, campy, early 3D scroll shooter that's fun for any age, still holds up to this day, and has a special 10 of 10 rating in my heart. Do a barrel roll. Fucking, I like that. Well done, Vincent. This whole letter warmed my fat heart because I think every gamer out there, every single person listening to my voice right now that plays video games or used to play video games, you have at least one 10 out of 10 game in your heart, right? Like mine is Super Mario World. That will always be my first love. Vincent's is Star Fox 64, which admittedly I've never played, but I constantly hear fucking great things about. Like, if only Nintendo had a fucking portable console that they could put Nintendo 64 games on. that I can, and I just realized that as I said that, the game was ported to the 3DS, which was a portable console that I could play it on, and shut up. You know what I mean? I want them on Switch. I want Nintendo 64 games on Switch. That's what I was trying to say. But I actually read Vincent's letter, and I thought, man, like, what a fun episode of Expansion Pass that could be. Everybody's 10 out of 10 game. And then I could finally tell you guys a couple of my other 10 out of 10 games without breaking my no other game gets a perfect score rule. So we might do that in the near future for an episode of Expansion Pass. And if we do, credit will 100% go to Vincent. So is that something you guys would be interested in for Expansion Pass? Let me know. Maybe one where everybody writes in, or some other people give me their 10 out of 10 games, and I could give you a couple more of my 10 out of 10 games that I refuse to give a 10 out of 10 due to the rules here on the show. So thank you very much for writing in, Vincent. Great letter, or whatever, post on Patreon. I like calling them letters. And yeah. Great call, but I appreciate that. Was great. Fuck yeah, I enjoyed that. That's enough blowing this week, but that was a good end blow. That was good. Yeah, let's go. Let's get into our smash hit segment. You guys know how this works. Play one, remake one, erase one. And a huge thank you, as always, to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the official theme music. And for 1 week only, we're actually changing the show. It is not play one, remake one, erase one. It is watch one, remake one, erase one. The rules are simple, you guys. Each week, I give our listeners 3 retro games, or in this case, video game movies. They can watch one as it was released. They can remake one as a modern AAA blockbuster flick, and the third movie is Erased from Time Forever. So this week I figured, sticking with the gaming moving themes, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to play watch one, remake one, erase one, instead of playing play one, remake one, erase one. I've said that title too many times. And this week it is the crappy video game movies edition. And our contestants, if you will, this week are the Super Mario Brothers movie, the Doom movie, and the Street Fighter movie. And as always, there are no wrong answers here, but there is a correct one, and I'm going to tell you what that is in just a minute. And thank you, as always, again, to everyone that played. This is easily the segment that gets the most replies every week on Patreon. I can't read them all because this segment would go fucking forever, but I'll get into a few. Thank you for everyone that wrote in. Keep writing in. I promise you'll get on the show. And we're going to start this week with fucking KMR Live, who wrote in and said, as one who has seen all of these films, let's just not watch any of them. They either all need to be remade or blinked from existence. I assure nothing of value would be lost. And Leon K wrote in with the same sentiment and said, can't we just erase all of them? And my answer to both of you is no. Listen, you two, you guys are veterans of this fucking show. You know the rules, okay? This isn't erase one, erase one, erase one. Although that would make editing the segment and stuff about 200 times faster and easier. Now we play erase one, erase one, erase one, and we just wipe out 3 games. You have to watch one, and you have to remake one. You can only erase the third. And because of your blatant disrespect and disregard for the rules here at Remember the Game Industries, you now have to watch all 3 of these movies on DVDs with extra scenes and commentary, and you can't drink or be high in the process. No snacks, raisins. You can only, and for the record, I like raisins, but you can only have raisins while you watch this. That's it. And I'm sorry to come down on you two, but I want everyone to understand that if you're going to come up into my house and break the rules here, Remember the Game Industries, there are going to be consequences. All right? I know all of you want to just erase all these movies, but that's not happening on my watch. Although, if we were allowed to do that, that would have been my answer for this game too, and I haven't even seen all 3 of these movies, so that's what I would have done as well. Martin Greenwood wrote in and said, hey all, I let my son Riley play this week as he has been wanting to for ages, so this is the view of a 10-year-old that hasn't seen any of the movies, and in fairness, is the same order that I would use. Erase Mario Brothers because, well, it's the frickin' Mario Brothers movie. Watch Doom as it looks incredibly interesting, and remake Street Fighter as many people still love the franchise, me included. Riley, I like the way you think. Listen, I can't in good conscience erase the Mario Brothers movie. I know it sucks, but I just love those plumbers too much to get rid of it altogether. I haven't seen Doom, but I actually think it looks interesting as well, despite the basically non-stop bad reviews. And I actually agree that a new Street Fighter movie done properly could probably clean up, because people love that franchise. So while I don't agree with your order necessarily, Riley, thank you for playing, my friend. I appreciate that. Come back and play again. You're welcome here anytime. Joe Gillespie wrote into us and said, watch Street Fighter because it's so bad it's good. Remake Super Mario Brothers because the casting seems like it should be awesome, but goddamn did they mess up the end product. There's something going on there though, and I would like to see it done, and not just the cartoon from Blue Sky like we're getting soon. And then erase Doom, never a Doom guy, but go watch Alien and Aliens instead. Thanks for writing in, Joe. A couple of points here. Number one, I think everybody has a movie that they describe as so bad it's good. And I can get on board with that. Like The Wizard, I think some people would describe The Wizard that way. For what it's worth, off the top of my head, I think the movie that I would describe like that is probably Batman Forever. I know a lot of people hate that movie. I like that movie a lot, but I know it sucks. I also agree that the casting of the Mario movie was spot on. Everything after the casting is where it fell apart. So my order is not exactly the same as yours, but the logic is. Good answer, Joe. Well done. Andre wrote in and said, watch Street Fighter. I enjoy this movie for how bad it is. I love the overacting and the cheesiness. Remake Doom. Now, I think if you give this movie to the right person, you could get a pretty sweet flick out of it. The Doom Slayer working his way through hordes of monsters could be sweet. And then erase Mario Brothers. I don't care for this movie. I saw it as a kid. I didn't like it. I rewatched it later with your brother and confirmed I don't care for it at all. So first, this is another Street Fighter is so bad it's good comment, which is just fucking awesome. To hear one person say that is whatever, but to hear numerous people say that, that's hilarious to me. Poor Street Fighter. And I get your logic, Andre, but again, I'm not going to delete Mario. Plus, you brought my brother up, and that could get you banned around here. So no more, don't bring him. No, he's fine. My brother and I get along fine. He's like the Waluigi to my Mario. No, he's Toad. I'm Mario, and he's Toad. And he's not like the leader redheaded Toad. He's like third player yellow dotted Toad that nobody really knows why. That's my brother. That felt good. White Burrow wrote in and said, watch Street I love the end of this. Watch Street Fighter. It fits its era of 90s films like Mortal Kombat that are classics. Remake Mario because then we get to keep the old one and imagine what they could do if they made it good. They could throw in a Mario Kart racing scene, which would be hilarious. There's so much they could expand upon. And then finally, erase Hollow Knight. Oh, Soprano. That was a Soprano style, like, there. I don't know if that's a typo, White Burrow, or if you're just throwing shade at Hollow Knight, but there will be no erasing of that game here, sir. That I'm going to chalk it up to you playing Play One, Remake One, Erase One while you're under the influence of something. I was totally on board with everything you were saying. I think a Mario Kart scene in a Mario movie would be awesome, but then you come on in and say erase Hollow Knight? Oh, that's no, sir. Oh. You're even closer to getting banned than Andre is for bringing up my brother. Thomas D. Reynolds wrote in and said, watch Mario Brothers is such a great but ridiculous movie. I'm thinking it came out just before Mario All-Stars, which gave it the hype it needed. No sense in remaking it now. I can't imagine it being any better. Remake Street Fighter, take of the best martial art UFC fighters who can act, of course, and have it be directed by Wilson Yip, and you have a modern-day blockbuster. And then erase Doom. This movie was a complete mess. Let this title stay true to its roots and keep it in video game genre. I think a remake would be fucking terrible. So I'm going to get to my answer in just a second here. And when I explain my logic, I think what I'm about to say will make sense. But I agree with your order, Thomas. I haven't seen Doom or Street Fighter, so my watch is one of them. Like the movie I would watch is one of them to see what it's all about and to see why everybody hates them both. But if I had seen them already, then I would agree with you. Doom is better served in a game than a movie. It doesn't need a story. Just run around killing aliens. So I get exactly what you're saying, Thomas. Thank you for writing in. Adam Anderson wrote in and said, watch Super Mario Brothers. That movie is a treasure. Remake Street Fighter. I'm always game for a good martial arts movie. Erase Doom. Just unnecessary. Hard to capture Doom the game in movie form. Adam Anderson, I like you. You have a great name. You seem like a good guy. Your Doom and your Street Fighter logic is solid, but to call the Mario Brothers movie a treasure, I don't know, sir. The Mario movie is about as much of a treasure as I am a contender to be the mayor of Great Britain, my friend. That shit's not going to happen, but I get where you're coming from. And now Brian Ransom wrote in and said, I'd remake Mario. We have better CGI, so there should be no excuse for the horrible graphics. Give it a plot that actually resembles a franchise. Could be, it could include rescuing both Peach and Daisy. Make the Goombas the little brown turds that they are. And for all that is holy, make Bowser the fire-breathing dinosaur dragon turtle creature he is, not some human who gets mutated. Also, just for you, Adam, add the Koopa Kids and give Bowser Jr. some screen time. Watch Doom as it is. Out of all these, this is the only one that is even remotely close to the source material. Plus, with the Rock plus the Rock keeps it from being erased. And then erase Street Fighter. There are plenty of fighting themed movies out there. I would not miss this. I've also heard about a possible Mortal Kombat reboot, so if that's the case, I can get my fix there. Now, the thing about this, Brian, is you had me on your Mario selling until you said give Bowser Jr. some screen time, my friend. That sounds even worse than the original Mario Brothers movie. I liked everything you said up until then, but I'll stay sober and watch these movies with the cheaters I mentioned off the top before I watch a movie with fucking Bowser Jr. in it, that little imp. Fuck that. Bowser Jr. love aside, though, this is my order as well. And shout out to Adam Beasley for also nailing it. Adam snuck in minutes before I fucking recorded this. Remake Mario Brothers with a better story and more nods to the game. It could be great. Leave Doom as it is. That movie's amazing and really fun to watch. The first person scene at the end makes the film. Erase Street Fighter. The anime does it better. So I don't necessarily agree with all the logic, but we're on the same wavelength here, Adam. And same with you, Brian. I would watch Doom. Because I've never seen it or Street Fighter, so I've got to pick one of them to watch. I want to see if it's as bad as everyone says. Plus, I like The Rock, and I like Doom more than I like Street Fighter. So I would watch Doom to see what everyone's so mad about. I would remake the Mario Brothers movie without fucking Bowser Jr. Because like Joe Gillespie, as so many of you said, it could have been great. The casting was perfect. They just fucked everything else up. Now, I did not know that Bob Hoskins, who played Mario, had passed away. That's awful. I thought he was a fantastic Mario. God damn it, I wish they had just taken that cast, at least Mario and Luigi. I know the guy who played Luigi, his name is suddenly escaping me, and all of you are probably yelling it into the microphone right now, or into your radio. But if they had just taken that initial cast and made something that resembled a Mario Brothers movie, it feels like it would have been the easiest movie ever made. Fucking Mario movie. So I would remake that thing. And then I would erase the Street Fighter movie. I gotta be honest, nothing about this movie interests me. Like, if I'm gonna watch a movie about fighting, I'll watch Rocky. Or something. Or give us a Punch-Out movie. Dude, a Punch-Out movie would be fucking awesome. That would actually be a great expansion pass episode too, maybe. Is what video games would make good movies. Punch-Out could be a great movie. Plus, I like Mortal Kombat better. I know. I'm dodging the tomatoes being thrown at me. I prefer not the movies. I haven't seen any of their movies either, but I like the video games better. So that's my answer. Thank you to all of you that played. I'm sorry I can't read all of them. I really do try. I read them all personally. I can't get them all on the show. Keep playing. Promise I'll get you on the show sooner than later. What have I been playing? And then we're going to get into some Wizard talk. Primarily, I'm actually playing Bully now. It won our Patreon poll in November. I am running way behind, but I finally got it fired up, and it's fucking awesome. I put like 5 hours into it Monday night. Like, I stayed up past midnight just sitting here playing it, and I'm really digging it. I'm hoping to finish the campaign in the next few days. I don't know how much of the collectible stuff I'm going to do, but I'll have the campaign and stuff done pretty soon. I'm pretty close. I will have an episode in the next 2 to 3 weeks coming up about Bully on the show. I also finished Crash Bandicoot 4, at least the main story. I still have a ton of shit to collect, but I finished the campaign. Fucking loved it. I was going to review it on Expansion Pass this weekend, but every time I streamed it on Twitch, people got mad and said they hated it, so the board has spoken. No Crash 4 review, but it's really, really fun. There's my review. Really, really fun. If you like Crash, you'll love Crash 4. Best Crash Bandicoot game ever made. I've put more time into Blaster Master, which I'm getting ready to record the Let's Play of, which will happen. I'll be recording that next week. The more I play it, the more I dig it. It's tough, but I get why so many people like it. It's really fun. And then I finally fired up the Angry Video Game Nerd game on my Switch, and it's really dope. If you like the nerd and decent platformers, I recommend it. It's really fun. I might actually sneak it into my next mini indie review when I do another episode like that down the road. And then I'm playing Tetris because I'm always playing Tetris. And that's it. That's what I've been playing. That's all the things. Before I get into the Wizard talk, just quickly, I haven't actually fired it up yet or anything. I wasn't even going to bring it up because I didn't want to act like I was kind of flexing on everybody. But you know what? I'm so excited that I am going to flex just a minute. I actually had to go pick it up, but my girlfriend surprised me Tuesday morning with an Xbox Series X. She was like, yeah, you should go pick it up. And didn't get off scalper, got it at Walmart. I'm as I'm talking to you guys right now, my Xbox One is transferring all my games over to it. I probably won't get a chance to play it for another day or two, but I'm so fucking happy. And if you are out there, and I say it every week on Game Patch too, if you're looking for a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S, do not give the scalpers, the resellers, a penny of your money. More are coming. Just fucking be patient. I know it's easier said than done, but just be patient. So ginormous shout out to the hero of my life, the Mario to my Princess Peach, my girlfriend Shaylee for hooking me up with an Xbox Series X. I'm very excited. I love her very much. I'm a lucky guy. Okay. Long enough intro. I just wanted to give her a shout out because she won't even listen to this. She doesn't listen to the show, but she's my hero. Let's get into the wizard talk, you guys. I like to give you nerds a chance to share some of your thoughts before I indulge myself and ramble on with my guests for a little while. And a bunch of you wrote in. Michael Mathis said, I love this movie. I remember watching it when they played it as the Sunday night movie on CBS back in the day. We popped our VHS tape in and recorded it. I don't even know how many times we watched it. When I saw it on HBO Max recently, I sat down and rewatched it. Should it have ever won any Oscars or anything? God, no. But I still love it. I wish they did more open tournaments like they did in the movie, when COVID isn't a thing. It would still be a great way to introduce a brand new game to the world since it'd be live streamed nowadays. Dude, I agree. That'd be fucking awesome. I actually think that'd be a when Mario Odyssey 2 or something comes out, find a way to fucking do something like that with it. That'd be so rad. They did something like that with Mario Maker when it came out, and everybody was like totally into it. It was awesome. And shout out to you, Michael, for bringing up recording movies from TV onto a VHS tape. Those were the days. Commercials and everything. And now you watch one of those videos, and like even to watch the old commercials is fun. Those were good times. OG Big Titus wrote in and said, I actually agree with the Mathis fellow. This movie was and still is a fun watch. From Fred Savage being his usual smarmy self to, I don't know how to say his name, Beau Bridges, B-E-A-U, Beau Bridges, and Christian Slater gaming across the Western U.S. and feuding with the kid catcher to asshole Lucas to all the game and music and pop culture placements. It was pretty much the 80s bottled up and put into a movie. California, indeed. The only thing that would have made it better is if it had been based on Sega. I was on board with everything you were saying, Titus, till a Sega version. They would have called it The Other Kid. Instead of The Wizard, it's The Other Kid, and it's just two hillbillies trying to get to Ottawa for some fucking reason. Yeah. The Other Kid. I like it. Doug Dorn wrote in and said, I've never even heard of this movie before today. Did it get released in the UK and I missed it, or was it North American only? I've never seen it on cable anywhere or heard anyone mention it in conversation here in Canada, though. Am I missing out? To be fair, Doug, I actually didn't see it until the late 90s myself. I don't remember when it came. I don't remember it coming out at all. But I don't know if I'd say you're missing out per se, but it's worth a one over. You should definitely listen to this. Sorry, we're about to spoil the ending. It's not a very big twist ending. And well, I guess it kind of is. And then go watch it because it's worth a watch, I promise. And then Joe Gillespie wrote in and said, this is the definition of a nostalgia guilty pleasure. I feel like they were trying to do a kid's version of Rain Man, but it's obviously just one big Super Mario 3 commercial. I still love it though. That's precisely what I said, my friend. Not the Rain Man thing, but it is just a giant Mario 3 commercial. And that's why I so love it. It might be the greatest commercial in the history of advertising. And I'm ready to talk about it. So let's cue up some music. And a quick note before we get going, I said during the chat with Tyler that maybe I would try to get Lucas from the movie on the podcast someday. I Googled him after we recorded, and he's done some bad things, and he can go fuck a cactus. I'm not going to get into details. You can look it up yourself. But please don't message me about it. I don't know where it is in the show to edit it out, but Lucas is the first official ban from Remember the Game Industries. Never on my fucking show, you smarmy piece of shit. Good enough. Let's talk California, and let's talk The Wizard, which originally released in North America on December 15th, 1989. Get comfortable, you guys. Here we go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit betterhelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. Listen up, you hot dogs. We're going to get to Link to the Past in just a second, but I want to give a huge shout out to Analog Brewing here in Edmonton for teaming up with Remember the Game. Analog Brewing is an Edmonton-based brewery that churns out delicious beer. And what's rad about them is they're gaming nerds, just like me and you. All their beer has dope video game referencing names. They have awesome artwork on their cans. If you live in Edmonton, you've probably seen it somewhere. And they deliver as well. They offer next day home delivery, Wednesday through Saturday evening in Edmonton and surrounding areas. It's a 24 can minimum outside of Edmonton, and delivery is free if you spend $40 or more. It's great beer. If you're Albertan, you probably drink anyway, and craft beer is so much better than the big name mass-produced garbage out there. I drink their beer, I support their beer, they support the show, and if you live in or around Edmonton, show them some love. Hit up analogbrewing.ca, and don't forget to mention the podcast in your order, please. That way I can make a couple of bucks too. You're gonna drink over the holidays, so support me, support local, support Analog Brewing. Analogbrewing.ca, mention the podcast in your order. Thanks a lot. Now let's talk video games. So this is one of those episodes that, as I'm sure I'll have hyped up during the intro, that I've actually been excited to do for quite a while. We haven't talked too many video game movies on here. People always bring them up. They bring up like the Street Fighter movie and Resident Evil and some shitty movies. But the one that comes up the most is the fucking Wizard. And so my guest this week, returning to the show, longtime pal, a Patreon supporter, all that good stuff. Card-carrying member of Remember the Game Industries is my buddy Tyler. How's it going, buddy?
Oh, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. Pretty good. Like a hard eight.
End
hard
the
eight.
podcast. Yeah. End the podcast there. We're both good. Done.
Thanks for listening. Yeah, that'd be a sweet podcast. How you doing? And it's just like 90 seconds. Just two guys. How's it going? And that's it. So we're talking the Wizard. What? Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say do a bunch of cold calls like that. Just like random dial people and hey, how's it going? I'm good. All right. Click.
And then hang it up.
Today's episode.
Yeah. I would listen to that. That'd be fucking awesome. Listen to it on double time speed and you could get through your fix in about 6 seconds every week. Just the How's It Going podcast. Actually, a buddy of mine, and I better not, I don't want to steal it. I don't want anyone else to steal his idea, but he had whatever. He's not going to do it. A couple of years ago, a comedian I know had an idea for a podcast where he was going to call it 5 questions. And every week it was only going to be like 10 minutes long. And he would just pick a guest, like another comedian or whatever, and just ask them 5 random questions. And then that would be the end of the show. Idea. I know. And I was like, dude, that sounds like such a fun, I would listen to that. But then he just never did anything with it. So, and I know him. He probably got high that night and forgot the idea. And now it doesn't even, I just gave away his idea. But he had 2 years. So fuck him. So this week we're
the stature of limitation.
Yeah, if you tell me an idea, you've got a couple years to act on it. Otherwise, I'm giving it out to about 40 people on my podcast. I'm not going to steal it myself. I'm just going to give it to the 40 listeners I have and let them fight over it.
I'm stealing it.
So this week we're talking The Wizard, and fuck. So you said you just rewatched this movie last night?
Yeah, my wife and I just watched it.
So it wasn't your first time seeing it?
No, I watched it when I was a kid and pretty much came to the conclusion that I was Jimmy Woods, that I was going to be a video game prodigy. Turns out that I'm not. I'm terrible at games. Shoot, my life has been wasted. But
fuck. So then, boy, we're gonna get into Jimmy. What did your wife think? Did she like it?
She loved it. She thought it was very cute. You know, she's not a huge gamer, so some of those little things where, as a video gamer, like anytime the dad's playing, like he was playing Ninja Turtles at one point, he was like, "I got the sword scroll." I was like, "That's not a fucking thing."
Oh, that's good.
Like every time he said something, I was like, "No, that's not in Zelda. What the fuck are you talking about?"
Half of this,
but Brittany's just like, "Oh, this is fun," like enjoying it.
Half of this podcast, I think, is just going to be us pointing out the blatant errors in the video games that they were playing and being like, that's not how that worked. Because my girlfriend did not watch it with me. I watched it for the first time in probably fuck me, 15, 20 years. I watched it this week, and like I just like, if you're not a Nintendo fan, that's why I asked what your wife thought, because I'm like, if you're not a diehard Nintendo nerd, is there anything redeemable about this movie? Because like, let's just call a spade, Tyler. Like, this movie fucking sucks. I love it. I love it, but this movie sucks.
It's I don't think it sucks. I think it's a good movie. I think it just misrepresents video games. And I think every movie that has video games in it does that. But the thing about this movie, so this movie came out in 1989. Nintendo had a world championship because of this movie. Like, the competition in this movie inspired Nintendo to actually come out with their world championship that Thor Ackland or whatever, I don't even know if he's autistic, so saying he's autistic might be offensive, but the autistic dude who won the Nintendo World Championship in like 1990, and it was in that Tetris documentary. Yeah. Like, that all came from this movie. So the one good thing about the movie is that it inspired that. And it's a cute story. It's a cute, like, coming, like getting a family back together. And like, I don't know. It hits on a few points, but it totally misrepresents video games. Oh, like, the biggest hit against the movie.
Like, listen, when I say it's a bad movie, like, I enjoyed watching it and I will watch it again. I'm not saying that, like, there's nothing redeemable about it, but I'm watching it the other night and I'm like, if I wasn't just this little Nintendo nerd my whole life that was like, every time, like, I don't know how you are, but when I'm watching the flick, literally, I'm kind of just dragging my feet between scenes that don't feature a video game. And then something features a video game, and then I'm like, oh. And then I get mad about all the ways that they don't properly talk about or play the video game. And then it goes back to this horrible, like, okay, so this fucking story's so stupid. Like, if you've never, I'm sorry, it's just like, if you've never seen The Wizard, you guys, like Tyler said, it came out in 89. It's blatantly just a fucking Nintendo commercial. Like, that's all it, like, blatantly.
Hugely. Nintendo approached the director and was like, hey, we're having trouble getting Super Mario 3 released. There was like some distribution issues or whatever. So like Super Mario 3 had been released in Japan, but they were like, oh, we have this opportunity because we're having, I think it was like a chip shortage or a cartridge shortage, or there was some fucking thing that they couldn't get the game in North America. So they were like, well, we have this opportunity to make a movie. So there was this film in 1975 called Tommy, which was about this pinball god. And it was like this, it's an adult film. It's way more like edgy and whatever, right? So the director was basically told, like, hey, we want to make Tommy, but for kids, about Super Mario 3. And it was the first, like, commercial for Super Mario 3 in North America. Ugh. Like, the first,
It's just, like, I remember that time. Like, I remember Mario 3 coming out. I remember the commercial where everyone makes the giant Mario head. Like, remember the camera goes in outer space and everyone's, like, I remember all that. I remember the box. I remember trying to rent it, not being able to get my hands on it. I remember all that. So, like, when I watch this movie, part of me just goes back to those days where I'm like, dude, I was their age when this movie came out. And this was like, I remember these days. But at the same time, it's like, so there's this fucking kid who has, like, something is wrong with him mentally. And all he really says is California. And they're going to put him in a...
Jimmy Woods.
And all he can say is California. And then his mom and his stepdad are going to put him in a mental hospital, in the nut house. And then his brother, who is Fred Savage, basically breaks him out of the nut house to take him to California. That's how the movie starts, right? Did I miss anything?
No, but do you know who plays Jimmy Woods?
No, I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure it's Tobey Maguire.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
Really?
Oh, no, it's Luke Edwards. It's Tobey Maguire's film debut.
Yeah, Maguire. I think Maguire's one of the bullies that picks on them.
Yeah, he's one of the uncredited goons.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I just saw I have the Wikipedia open and it said Tobey Maguire's film debut. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Was he Jimmy Woods?
That would have been insane. Spider-Man. Like, the dude goes on to be Spider-Man. And at this time, all he does is plays a guy that picks on this little weirdo that loves Nintendo. So, like, and within this is like my biggest... And, like, listen, I understand this is a children's movie. It's propaganda for video games. I'm not going to sit here and poke holes in every little plot hole thing and point out every little problem with this. My biggest issue with this entire movie is that these two young children set off across the country to go to California. And then they have
from Utah. That's impossible. They would be dead.
Right. Like, that's a long haul. That's not...
Especially in the, like, 80s.
Yeah, they're not going across the city. Like they're literally going across Canada or across the US without like internet, smartphones, cell phones, anything. Just two kids that apparently have no money but keep winning some by hustling people at video games. And like go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just was going to say, okay, I'm going to get this off my fucking chat. My biggest problem with this whole movie, and I understand kids movie, blah, 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 blah. I'm watching it and I'm like, literally none of the parents are freaking out. None of the cops are freaking out. Like, I know that the dad and the older brother are driving across the country trying to find him, and so is that private investigator. But like, they're stopping to play Nintendo and they're just fucking around. And I'm like, are you guys serious right now that like your two under 10-year-old children are hitchhiking across the United States and you're just like, this is fine. We're just going to stop and play Ninja Turtles on the Nintendo here for a while. Like, I just like, I'm like, nobody cares. I was like, what is this? How does nobody care? Like, I get that Jimmy sucks and he's annoying. I understand that, but how do you not want him back? What the fuck?
Because it was the 80s, man.
I know.
Nobody fucking cared about
that was the
kids
thing
in the 80s.
Is nobody did care. The amount of times I threatened to run away in the 80s and my mom was like, here's your bag. Fucking see ya. Like, it was just a different time than it is now. But it drives me fucking insane.
Well, a prime example is, do you remember going camping in the 80s? Where your parents would put you in the back of a pickup truck with a canopy on it and a mattress? No seatbelts, no fucking nothing. If you got in a car accident, the kids would be dead.
Yeah, yeah. But it was the 80s.
That was a regular thing in the 80s.
Oh, fucking brutal. So, okay,
and then my point about that,
right.
These kids going across, so these kids are like 13, 8, and whatever like young kids. They're talking like Robert Redford and what's his name, Paul Newman in like Pool Hall Junkies or whatever movie they did where they're pool hall sharks. Like they're talking like they're adult sharks, like totally scam artists. No way kids would be talking about that at that age.
No.
And maybe I was just an idiot kid, but their kids weren't hustling people like that at that age. Like when he walks up to the kids in Utah and that, like the two old dudes in Utah in some fucking bar playing in an arcade, and is like, yeah, you're pretty good, and starts like putting the hustle on him.
Yeah.
I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It's so stupid. Like I'm watching it and I'm like, this is such a stupid movie. So then like,
but it's a fun movie. That's
it is
like
fun.
The whole time I'm watching it and criticizing all of this, I'm having fun. Like
agreed.
Compared to watching like the Super Mario Brothers movie or the Doom movie, like Doom with The Rock and what's his name? The guy who plays Judge Dredd and he's in The Boys right now. He's Carl Urban. That movie is god awful, like not watchable. Right. Whereas this, I'm criticizing the shit out of it, but I enjoyed it the whole time. I was having fun the whole time watching it.
I agree with that. And listen, like if it sounds like I'm shitting on it for the next half hour or so, I probably will be, but I promise you at the end of the episode, it's going to get a good score because I like this fucking movie. But you're right. So they're fucking. So that's how that's the long and short of it. Is California? Everyone has been sending me that since I said we were going to talk about it because that's all fucking Jimmy says is he's got to go to California. So then Fred Savage, the kid from the Wonder Years, breaks this kid out of a mental hospital and they hitchhike to California. And then along the way, they meet this girl who's like a street tough, like trucker's daughter.
Jenny Lewis. She's actually a folk singer or rhythm and blues singer or something like that now.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So they meet up with her. She's kind of like the street smarts. And then basically the three of them make their way across the country hustling people at video games because it turns out that like when they go to the first bus station or something, Fred Savage puts like a quarter into like a Double Dragon machine. And that's another thing I love about this movie is that like there's just these arcade machines everywhere that are just full of like, I know that Double Dragon was an NES game, but it's like they're just full of like all these random like he's playing Ninja Turtles in the arcades and stuff like that, like the original. And I'm like, that's not what? Okay, whatever. That's not how this works. But yeah, so then Jimmy plays Double Dragon and it turns out that he's like a prodigy at video games and he just instantly is really, really good at video games. Which like you're watching that and you're like, he only played for a few minutes. And he got this like super high score at Double Dragon, which is an impossible. Like, no, it's not. He didn't do that. Like, it fucking drives me crazy. I'm like, that's not how this works. They make these games. They're like, he beat Ninja Gaiden without like losing a life or something. And I was like, no one in the history of gaming has ever done that. Shut the fuck up.
Well, and when they show it, he has 2 lives missing. Like when they show the screenshot of him playing Ninja Gaiden, they're like, he hasn't even taken a hit. he had 2 hits off him. I was like, that's such a continuity error.
Oh,
Fuck
it
you guys.
fucking drives me nuts. And that's the way they all play video games. Like, they're all just, like, super into it. And I'm just like, that's not how people play video games. It borderline offends me. Like, this isn't going to be the same thing, but, like, I'm not a religious man. But if you're heavily religious and then somebody did a movie that was basically all about your religion and was just constantly misrepresenting it and making it seem like, I was like, that would bother you. And video games are as close to my religion as I have for a religion. And it really bothers me. I'm like, that's not how these games fucking work. And, like, you're right. Stuff like that, stuff like them talking about how far they are into Ninja Turtles when they're on the first level, the fucking sewer.
Yeah.
Leonardo hasn't lost a single hit yet. They're talking about how Jimmy is a goddamn, here it comes. I knew these were coming. They talk about how Jimmy's this goddamn video game prodigy, but he's playing the Ninja Turtles game where he's in the dam and he's swimming and like all 4 of his turtles are practically dead. And I'm like, dude, I can beat that without losing my Ninja Turtles. This kid's not a goddamn prodigy. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Oh.
Fucking wizard. Fuck you. None of it makes sense.
Dang it.
And I still like it.
Dang
and
it. That's why I thought I was a prodigy, because that's as far as I could get in that stupid Ninja Turtles game.
Is the swimming
like,
level?
Oh, I'm just like the prodigy. I'm the dam level, and I drown my fucking turtles every time.
So dumb.
It's like, oh, okay, sweet. I am a prodigy. I'm just like Jimmy.
So then so these kids set off across the country, and then Jimmy's biological dad and Jimmy and Fred Savage's oldest brother set out to get them. And I actually think that they're the most enjoyable like duo in the movie, at least.
Oh, definitely. And so that's Christian Slater is playing the older brother, and then Boo Bridges or whatever the fuck his name is. It's an old actor. You look him up and everybody will be like, oh, that guy plays the father. Right?
I had no idea that older brother was Christian Slater until I read about it later. And I was like, oh, wow. Like fucking dude, he looks like I guess he is young back then, but he looks so young. Like,
he's like 18 back then.
Right.
That's like when I watched it last night with Brittany, I was like, oh fuck, Christian Slater's in this. Like, I didn't even remember that at all.
No, me neither. Right. Like, yeah. So you had Christian Slater, Tobey Maguire, and Fred Savage in the same, like in this
All-star
fucking
cast.
shitty Nintendo. Yeah. Like if you just told me that those 3 actors are in a movie, I'm like, oh wow, that's probably a really good movie. But then it turns out like, no, it's pretty dumb.
It was.
It's not. So they set off across the country, and then the tough girl that they team up with, she realizes that they could because they realize that Jimmy's like this fucking video game like second coming, and they're like, we could put him in the Nintendo World Championships or whatever they call it, Armageddon, video game Armageddon or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And if they go there, they can win $50,000. They'll split it, and then it turns out that she like lives in a trailer out in the middle of like the desert and doesn't really have much family, and she's gonna use the money to help buy a new house and stuff like that. And like, sure, I guess it's like it's a means to an end to justify them going to this fucking video game championship, but it's still like, I'm sorry guys, it's just so dumb. Like this whole movie sucks, and I love it, but fuck me, it's stupid. It's like,
even little details, and I get it. You know, filmmaking back then, people didn't give a shit about little details because people didn't sit there and like watch movies with a pause, or you know what I mean. Like you just watched it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a thing that people picked apart every little thing. But when we were watching it last night, they never once plugged in one of the Nintendos that they play. Like when at one scene, Christian Slater and the dad, they go and they're at a fucking cheesy motel, and Christian Slater goes to the back of their pickup truck, and they're transporting the Nintendo in the back of the pickup truck.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Like, they just left this box with an NES and all these games just laying in the back of their pickup truck outside of a motel.
Yeah,
I noticed that too.
In their landscaping company pickup truck that has this fucking tree in it. The tree's upright, so that tree is like dead.
Yeah,
you can't drive on the highway with a tree upright like that. It would just fucking decimate the leaves and absolutely wreck it. They grab the Nintendo out of the back, and he's like, oh, Jimmy's old Nintendo box, blah, blah, blah. And then he just puts it on top of the TV and starts playing it. I was like, you didn't fucking plug it in or anything.
Dude,
and every time they bring it out and then like go and pack it away, they never unplug anything. They just like grab it and go. It's
yeah,
like,
that fucking, dude, the scene where they're at the car, the garage, where the fucking, where that like bounty hunter guy, we'll get into him in a second, but that bounty hunter guy like slashed their tires or whatever, so their car's getting worked on. And the dad like takes the NES into like this like old shop and hooks it up to this old TV, and he's playing Nintendo. And then when Christian Slater's like, come on, we gotta go, and the dad's like, oh, fine. And he turns off the Nintendo, picks it up, like leaves that little gray box that screws into the cable thing I can't remember the name of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But he like leaves all that behind, just takes his NES and leaves. And I was like, no, like if this is supposed to be fan service to us kids, then make it fan service. That's not how this works. You can't. I agree with you. That fucking drove me insane. Ah, fuck me.
Every time. Same. The guy puts the power glove on. We'll get to that later. But the guy puts a power glove on. He doesn't have like any of the sensors on it, and he's using it in a way that, like, on a game that you wouldn't use the power glove like that.
Oh, God. Yes.
There's like 4 games that you could use the power glove for. This is bullshit.
Yeah. So
I love the glove.
It's so bad. I love that fucking line so much. I love the power glove. It's so bad. So yeah, okay, well, let's do that.
It's
so they meet, for my money, the coolest character in the movie, maybe not the coolest, but the cheesiest is Lucas. They fucking meet this kid who's supposed to be like he's mean to all his friends. Like he yells at them and tells them to go get pop for him and stuff like that.
He's like the Cobra Kai guy from Karate Kid. He's like the bad guy who's not that bad, but he's still kind of like just a douchebag. Like he's just a fucking asshole. Yeah. He's not like, there's along the way they run into like bullies and like people who are robbed them, the kids on the highway, right? Yeah. So he's not like that. Like he's just competition. He's like their main competition. So he's not like a fucking villain, but he's the villain. You know?
Yeah. And he he's going to go win the world championship too. That's like his big plan. But they fucking meet this kid and Jimmy's been hustling everyone. And then someone's like, he's pretty good, but he couldn't beat Lucas. And they're like, oh yeah? So then they go meet this kid named Lucas. And they go to he's just like sitting on the porch of his house. And that's where his Nintendo and everything is set up, on the porch of his fucking house. And then he takes out he takes out this box of video games. He's like, I have them all. And there's like a dozen games in it. And I was like, no, there's way more games than that. And then he
mentions that he has 91 of them, which I think might have been how many were out at that time.
Might have been.
But he mentioned, like, because I had some of those those knockoff cartridges that had like 76 in one, 98 in one.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's how many games there were, but I mean, he mentioned that he had more. It's just they show that fancy leather sleeve where it's like 12 cartridges.
I know.
Like, that's not all the games.
Yeah, you're right. He does say that he has them all. But then, he takes out the sleeve of like a dozen games, and then he puts in, I think, Rad Racer. And then they hook up his friends. Like he takes out like this fucking like FBI metal heavy duty briefcase with his name on it, and like click, click, and like unclips them and opens it, and you think that like the cure to cancer is in there or something. Like the way it's like. And then it's just the fucking power glove, the shitty fucking remote control or a controller that's like a fucking glove. And he puts it on, fires it up, and then he just murders it Rad Racer. And it's so funny because anyone that's ever even seen a power glove is like, it doesn't work like that at all. That thing is a piece of shit. Like it doesn't do anything. But they put it in this movie, and then they were like, if you want to be as cool as Lucas, the anti-hero of video games, go get yourself a power glove because it's so bad. Oh, fuck me. It's just so cheesy and dumb. And Jimmy watches him play Rad Racer and then just runs out. Like he's scared of him or something. And it was like, what? Like, fuck off.
And he would have crushed him.
Of course he would have crushed him.
They point out in the plot like that it was because his PTSD with losing his sister, and then Freddy Savage is the only connection he has, and Freddy's defending Jenny Lewis's character, whatever the fuck her name was, Haley or something like that.
Yeah, Haley, that's her name. So
Lucas was like hitting on Haley, and Freddy Savage is like, yeah, this is my girl, and then Jimmy gets all,
yeah.
You know,
so
he just freaks out.
So spoiler, Jimmy has like PTSD. We'll get into that a little bit. I guess the movie's over 30 years old. Everybody knows this fucking movie. So then if we're
doing a podcast on it, it's just spoiler alert. We're gonna tell you the plot.
We're gonna tell you the big quote unquote twist ending, which is actually the stupidest part of the whole movie in my book. Yeah. But so they're running across the country. They're hustling people at these arcade NESs that are fucking everywhere. And while they're going across the country, their dad and their older brother, Christian Slater, are coming along behind them, but they're constantly stopping and playing video games. And then they're also beefing with the, like, I don't even know how would you describe him, like a bounty hunter kind of?
Yeah, I would say like a private detective or private eye who's like specializes in lost kids.
Right. And so they hired him to go get these kids back.
So he's kind of a dirtbag. Like he looks like a pedophile the whole
movie.
Funny.
Like they lean into it so hard.
Yeah, Jimmy's dad dresses like, the 1970s kind of guy, but he's, and same with this detective, but they make like Jimmy's dad the father who's doing everything he can to like support his family. And the private eye, they just like paint him as like a total pedophile. Like
Yeah, they
everything
do.
he says and does, he is just a sleazeball. And it just like, they didn't say pedophile, but it kind of like,
Yeah,
the whole time I was like, oh, fuck, this guy
Right.
gives me the creeps.
Yeah, he like it looks like he walked off the like out of a like To Catch a Predator filming. Like he just like the cliche, most greasy looking. And so they do like some minor like comedy things where him and the dad and brother are kind of getting in each other's way, and it's kind of funny. Like the scene where he's like the dad is beating on the private eye's car with the shovel, and the scene where the private eye like slashes their truck tire. I guess that's the same scene where he like slashes their truck tires and they're running into each other, and it's like it. Honestly, at times I thought it was like one of the most entertaining parts of the movie was this fucking creepy private investigator guy and his fucking adventures going across the country trying to catch these two kids that keep outsmarting him. Like, it's just, God fucking me, it's dumb, Tyler. This is fucking dumb. So then the fucking they all find out that these kids are headed to California to play in the World Championship, and then they get to California. They get to like Universal Studios or wherever it is it's filming. And
that's what I thought. Yeah, because they had like Dracula and the Wolfman and Frankenstein ripping around, and then they had the King Kong ride. So it must have been Universal.
Yeah.
But they never say Universal Studios. It just implies it.
So they go there, and that's where they're filming the Nintendo World Championships. And then the dad and the older brother get there, and then also the private investigator gets there. But then as the private investigator gets there, so does Jimmy's mom and stepdad, and they come in and they're like, "You better get this kid."
That too hired the private investigator, just to be clear.
Right. And
so
then,
it's kind of like the dad and brother, and then the private investigator. They're racing to try and find the kid.
Yeah,
like the whole movie, it's them in conflict trying to rescue the kid.
Right, because the dad just wants to find the kid because Jimmy's his kid, and the private investigator wants to find Jimmy because then he gets paid. So then he's freaking out that they're gonna
dirtbag.
Yeah, because he's a dirtbag. So then he's freaking out that like the mom, like, dude, and oh my god, and he does like some creepy shit. Like, do you remember when they're staying at fucking what's the girl's name again? Haley. They're staying at like Haley's trailer in the desert or whatever. And then like Fred Savage gets up in the morning and he comes out and the living room's empty and he's like, what the hell? And then he looks outside and that creepy private investigator has like broken into their trailer, kidnapped Jimmy and thrown him in the back of the car. And I was like, that's the creepiest shit. Like he just went out to this.
But it gets creepier from there because as he's driving, he throws Jimmy a sucker. He's like, oh, I have a sucker kid, whatever. And then Jimmy throws it back and he's like, hey, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. And it's like, what does that fucking imply?
Dude, yeah, it's just so gross. So then Haley calls all these truckers and they basically pin them.
Because her dad's a trucker.
Because her dad's a trucker. So she calls up like all her friends and they all like corner the private investigator in like the middle of the highway and basically beat him up and get Jimmy back. And
one of the truckers, the one, like the main trucker that they kind of interact with a few times,
like
Spanky.
the big dumb guy.
He's the hero of the whole fucking movie because he gambles for them and gets them like $400 to get to LA.
Yeah.
What the fuck? He beats the crap out of the pedophile and rescues Jimmy. Like he's the fucking man. Spanky is the man in the whole movie. The man. Like he was my favorite character the whole movie.
Yeah, they have
the second time. Like when I watched it as a kid, I was like, "Oh, I'm Jimmy. I will be a video game prodigy." This time I watched it, I was like, "Spanky, fuck yeah!"
They fucking have like $8 left, and it turns out that Haley knows how to play craps. So she goes to the casino, just stands like 30 feet away, and yells at Spanky about where to put his money. And Spanky's like playing their money and winning all this money at craps. And I love that, like, and I get that it's a different time in 1989 or whatever, but like security is just letting these 3 young children just hang out in the casino, yelling at this guy to play. Like, it's obvious who's playing the craps. She just can't actually put it down. And everyone is completely oblivious and okay to it. And then finally security throws them out. And all security does is call Spanky a creep for gambling for children. And that's all it is. Yeah. And I was like, no one's mad about this? The parents aren't freaking out that the kids are gone. The dad and the private investigator have literally both tried, like, they've both like attempted manslaughter. And no one's even blinking at these 2 trucks and cars beating the shit out of each other. And these 3 children are just hanging out at casinos gambling, and everyone's totally fine with it. Like, what? Fuck. I feel like
What
this
a glorious time to live.
Fuck me, dude. This whole movie was just like, it's like Nintendo realized what, like, okay, like they sat down and were like, okay, what do we need to promote this movie? Well, Super Mario Brothers 3, which we'll get to in a minute. That's the big thing. But what else can we promote? Well, we could promote like Double Dragon, Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Turtles, like some of our cool franchises. Make them seem really easy. So easy, in fact, that this little under 10-year-old child that's never played these games can fire them up on an arcade, which would be even harder than to play with an NES controller, and can just burn through them, despite the fact that we never saw footage from anything other than the first levels ever. But apparently they're fucking like, I'm like, it's like, and then like, oh yeah, we need to show off the Power Glove and make it seem like it's actually an unfair advantage, when in reality it's like the biggest load of shit ever. Yeah, like fuck me. What I hate this movie. I love it, but I hate it. So, yeah, so the fucking guy breaks into their house and kidnaps the kid, and then at one point he finds out that Jimmy's in the arcade in the casino. So then he goes into
the Power Glove. The Power Glove came out the year the movie came out, so that's like a big promo.
Oh, for sure it is, and they make it seem so cool. Like they really do. You're watching it, and you're like, oh wow, that's pretty rad. And it's like, in reality, no one has ever said anything good about the Power Glove ever, other than it looks cool. Like it doesn't do fucking anything.
Did you have one?
No. Did you?
I had one growing up. Yeah.
Did it work at all?
There's a game where you could. It was kind of like what was that game? Arkanoid, where you'd bounce the ball and knock the bricks out, but you would catch the ball and throw it, and instead of throwing it vertically on the screen, you were throwing it so that it created like an illusion of 3D space. So you'd catch the ball and throw it. That was fun. Everything else trash.
Right. And he picks it up while his friends put like one sensor on, types in a code, and then just owns Rad Race. And it's like, fuck you, Lucas, you little fucking. I fucking hate that kid. So, they get to. And listen, I know that some of you guys like. We'll talk about the individual games they play in a second. We're gonna finish the movie. So they get to California. They're playing in this fucking Nintendo World Championship. It turns out that like everybody finds them. Everyone gets into the stadium where where the World Championship is running, and now all of a sudden everyone's cool with it because they get to the finals, and the final three are Lucas, Jimmy, and then this nerdy looking girl. I can't remember her name, but like if Donatello like was a prepubescent girl that was playing video, like it'd be her. Like it's just awful. And then it turns out that like the host of the World Championships is even more of a creep than that private investigator. Like I fucking hate him. I hate that fucking guy.
Man, he was just ripped on coke.
No, yeah, he's on all kinds of coke. But there's one scene where like the little girl that makes the finals is like standing there, and like the host goes over, like puts his arms around her, and he's like playing with her pigtails as they're hanging down. And I just was like, this is creepy and fucking weird. And this guy looks like, if you've never seen it, the host of the World Championships, he looks like the evil clerk from Home Alone 2. I can't remember his name. Absolutely. But that's who he looks like, is that creepy guy.
Playing with the pigtails and putting his arms around her, though, that's totally a coke thing to do. Like, he's just fucking coked out of his mind. When you see him come out and, video Armageddon, he's just losing his mind. It's like, oh, that guy is high as fuck.
I also assume that he is high, yeah. So the quarterfinals, or like the preliminary rounds happen. They get down to their three finalists, and they know it's Lucas, Jimmy, and this nerdy girl. And Lucas is obviously scared of losing to Jimmy. And he comes outside and he sees the private investigator who's looking for them, and he goes, hey, they're over there, and shows them where they are. So then you get this like quote unquote, I feel like the comic book guy right now, like just like your quote unquote hilarious chase scene where they chase him across, like where the private investigator and the dad and older brother are chasing Fred Savage and this little weirdo Jimmy across Universal Studios. And then finally they get kind of locked in an attic above the arena where the finals are happening, and they're yelling it because they can see Lucas through the vent they're standing on, and they're like, Lucas, tell them not to start the event. And Lucas, being the schnai little sack of shit that he is like just ignoring them. And then they end up stuck in this like elevator thing, and the big host like introduces the finale, lifts the curtain to like the final, like to open up the set to the big finale of the tournament. And Lucas and the nerdy girl were already standing there waiting, but then Jimmy is actually behind the set, like ready to go. And nobody even questions the fact that this kid is in like an authorized restricted area or anything. They're just like, this is fine. Here he is. He's our third finalist. Wow. And I just was like, would someone get mad about something? Please? Like, how the fuck is all this stuff? Like, did I miss anything there? Like, I know if it sounds stupid, it's because it is. But that's it, right? Like, that's the scene. I don't think I missed anything.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. No, you didn't miss anything.
So dumb. So then they lift up the curtain to what they'll be playing for the big finale, and it turns out they're playing the brand new, never before seen Super Mario Brothers 3, which, as a Mario fan, as a Nintendo fan, this is fucking, I love it. Because I remember the hype around this game when it came out, and like when that like title song kicks up and all of them are looking at it, the crowd's going crazy. Fuck, I love that so much. It makes me feel so happy. I just love Mario 3. It's so iconic. Like, what a great way to promote your video game. Make an entire movie where the finale's based around your new video game.
Yeah, instead of a commercial, and like for anybody in North America, because also there's no internet at this time, so it's not like people are going online and being like, "Yo, Japan," blah blah blah, or anything like that. There's literally no promo in North America at this point for this video game. So anybody who saw this movie in the theaters, that's the first time they saw Super Mario 3. The first time they even heard that game was coming out.
Yeah.
In North America, so it fucking blew minds.
Right, like it's huge. Like the marketing for Mario 3 was like, for me, that's the first big like blockbuster video game release. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about like the Halo 2 release and stuff like that. But yeah. Super Mario 3 to me was like the first one. That was just fucking like game changing. So they lift up this curtain. The three players find out they're going to be playing Super Mario Brothers 3. They have like 10 minutes or whatever to get the highest score that they can. And then the score thing is just it doesn't make any sense. Go ahead.
You can't get a score like that in Super Mario 3. And then he uses the warp whistle and he gets like a huge boost in score. And that's not how that works. You use the warp whistle. You don't get more points for warping to another level. Like it's all based on the coins you get and the enemies you bought. You literally don't get like a huge boost from that. But whatever.
So they get told they have 10 minutes to get as many points as possible in Mario 3. But then it's so awesome because the way the points are tracked, as opposed to the point counter in the actual game, there's just this like made up screen with three knights like on horses, like they're jousting. And they're the three horses, the further across the screen they are, the higher your score is. And so you can see where the three of them are and relate to their scores to each other. And my favorite thing about all this is like, so they're playing Super Mario 3, which they've never played. They're playing it with a fucking joystick and buttons, which I'm telling you, that would be impossible. Like Mario 3, you need the D-pad. You need precise play mechanics.
Yeah.
Then everyone's hyping up that Jimmy is this video game prodigy, and he's dying left and right in like the first couple levels of Mario Brothers 3. That I'm like, literally anyone can pick up.
And they're saying he's on World 2. That was the other thing. It's the first level, and they keep saying he's on World 2, and I'm like, fuck, he's not on World 2. He's still on World 1.
Yeah, none of this makes sense. So Lucas and the girl are both pulling ahead of Jimmy because Jimmy keeps dying. And it's like, how the fuck? Like, you're not a prodigy if you can't beat the first couple levels of Mario Brothers 3. I'm sorry. So then this is like the best part of the whole movie, is that people start yelling that like he's almost out of time. He needs to get the warp whistle. Get the whistle, which nobody has ever seen this game. There's no way anybody should know that this warp whistle fucking exists. It's ridiculous.
No, exactly. And even in Mario 2, like even if you use Mario 2 as a comparison, it's not like Mario 2 wasn't rooted in a Mario world. It was like a reskin game. So there wasn't like warp whistles. That the enemies weren't even the same. So like it's I don't know. It's one of those things where I was like, what the fuck? How do you know about this?
That's always been my biggest part with my biggest beef with the movie, is the way that he fucking just knows about this fucking warp whistle. So he gets the warp whistle, uses it, goes to World 4, and all of a sudden his score meter is just going off like it's been pumped full of adrenaline. And like Tyler said, so it's like, oh no, points don't matter based on the enemies you kill or the lives you collect or the coins you pick up. Points matter based on apparently how far you are in the game and their weird made up point system. And Jimmy was the only one that knew the warp. Oh no, Jimmy's not the only one that knew the warp whistle was there. Fred Savage and them knew it was there because they were telling him to go get it, even though nobody had any way to know. Oh God, so fucking. So then Jimmy gets the warp whistle. He goes to World 4, which I'm 100% sure was just their way of showing off Giant Land, which is obviously the best level the best world in the game.
Yeah.
No question.
Is it called Giant Land or Little Big World? Oh, it's Big World, right? Or Giant Land?
I don't remember. I think it's Giant Land. It doesn't matter. But anyway, like that's the coolest part of the game. So they use that to show that off. Then the timer counts down to 0, and then it turns out that Jimmy has won and has become the world champion because he was able to track down the warp. Land. He was able to track down the warp whistle and use it that Lucas, the gaming expert, had no idea was there. And then that poor girl, like, is just a distant third, and she sucks, and nobody knows. Like, I don't know why she's there to begin with. Like, nobody watching that was like, she's gonna win. Like, why the fuck is she? They
didn't even list her in the credits. You can't. She's unlisted.
Like, I don't get why. Like, why not just have it Jimmy and Lucas, like, just 1-on-1? That would have been so much more fun. But anyway,
the cast has like Spanky listed on it, but does not have her.
Not the girl. Yeah. So then then Jimmy wins the world championship and everyone's happy. And then they're driving. So now they're all friends again. Like the dad, the stepdad, the mother, everyone's just all pals. And they're all driving back across the country. Like they're just like, yeah, let's go home. And then they stop at this amusement park or whatever it is. And Jimmy like runs in there and he's got this like lunchbox he carries with him everywhere with pictures of his dead twin in there, his dead twin sister. Because apparently she like drowned and Jimmy didn't save her, but he watched her drown or something. Is that right?
Because he was afraid of the water. Yeah. He was afraid of the water. And that's super common.
Sure.
Like kids dying that way. That's one of the most common ways. Like, a lot of families have dugouts on their property, shit like that.
Right.
That is super common. I have my best friend, his little sister died like that. So that's like not even like a far-fetched thing. Like that was one of the things that watching it as an adult, I was like, oh, that's one of my biggest fears.
Right. Oh yeah. No, for sure. And like, it just like, I actually don't have a beef with the story outside of the fact that like, it's
plot holes with the video game.
Well, obviously there's like a ton of plot holes where they just were like, okay, well, I felt like they, like, it feels like they wrote a script and then they were like, okay, this script fucking sucks. And then Nintendo like saw it and was like, well, we'll help you guys produce it. We just have to fill all these plot holes with our video games. And they do.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect.
And so, yeah, they have like the big happy ending where they're all like in love and they go and like pay tribute to the passed away sister. And then that's the end of the movie. And it's like, it's just, how the fuck? Like, I don't.
Well, and the mom at the end too, this was something that I was like, oh, okay. So the mom at the end, when they're having their big reconciliation, looks to the dad, like, so, and she's remarried. She has like another husband at this point. And she looks to the dad and she smiles at him and she kind of almost winks. I'm going to say she winks, and then anybody can call me out if they actually watch it and there's no winks, but winks at him and says, we'll talk when we get back home. She's totally leaving the step-husband. They like insinuate that, yeah, no, the other marriage is fucking done, and she's going to go back to the dad who's like a landscaper, and get the family back together. It was a weird thing where I was like, what about the stepdad? I mean, like, he tried.
And it's like, oh, you guys reconciled your family. Wow, was there like a big life-changing event that made that happen? And they're like, well, actually, yeah, our youngest ran away with our second youngest, hitchhiked across the country. And then
won a video game world championship, got $25,000, which is a lot of cash back then. And
now we're back together. Like, we're one big happy family again. What the fuck? It's so obvious. Like, so the only other, like, before we get into just a couple of the video game things, because I want to talk about some of the video games that are in this. Have you got any other big thoughts on this story that I like? Is there anything else about this before we just talk the video games in it for a few minutes? Because that's really my favorite part. But is there anything else in this that that I missed or that we should bring up?
Well, Spanky is the actual hero. Freddy Savage can fuck off.
Yeah.
The tree in the back of the pickup truck. If anybody watches this movie after listening to this podcast, pay attention to that fucking tree because he is a survivor. All right. The whole movie, like when the truck gets broken down, like the whole movie, it's one of those little things. Like there's lots of continuity, there's lots of plot holes in the movie, but it's one of the little things where I was like, wow, they really made an effort to have continuity with that tree. Like, I don't know what the fuck the director was thinking to have all these other plot holes, but that tree is like a solid piece of cinematography as it goes on the journey with everyone.
I like it. I'm a
film nerd, so I notice these super asinine details.
I like that. I never noticed that tree, but now I kind of want to watch it again to pay attention to the tree. Plus, I want to watch.
Like when
Go ahead.
When their truck gets scrapped and they have to rebuild it, the tree's in the back of the scrapyard, and then at the last scene, like the leaves are all off it, it's totally dead. The truck has different quarter panels on it and everything. Like they've totally Frankenstein this truck back together, and the tree's still in the back. Like it's just really solid. Well, that's really solid, like detail.
That tree is that's the sister spirit in the tree.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know.
and because at the end, everybody's reconciled, so the tree has died and everything's moved on.
Yeah, because it's finally now we're at peace. You've put your lunchbox full of my pictures in this old this old statue of a dinosaur that no one will ever see, and now I can rest in peace. Fucking weird.
Yeah. The director Todd Holland's gonna listen to this podcast and be like, "They get it, they get it. It's been 30 fucking years."
Tree was Jenny, yeah, or whatever the fuck the kid's name was. So they play video games.
The movie.
No, go ahead.
Just before we go into some of the details, the other thing, the movie actually did really well. It had moderate box office success. It had $6 million to make it. It doubled its box office.
I would believe that.
I think it made like 15 million in the box office. So it was a success.
Well, you gotta
all these plot holes.
Yeah, well, and like people that weren't around back then, you've got to remember that like Nintendo Mania was at like its peak, like right around the time of Mario Brothers 3, right? Like everybody had an NES in the 80s. The Genesis wasn't a factor. You know what I mean? Like this was straight up Nintendo Mania. So like I would totally believe that this made money because it's quite frankly, like would it be any different than releasing like a fucking, I don't know, like a Fortnite movie now? Like it would clean up. Do you know what I mean? Or like Angry Birds did or whatever. Just because that's the fad at the time. And NES, like the NES was the fad at this time when this movie came out. So go ahead.
Like a big cast, like that was an all-star cast at the time. Fred Savage was a huge name for TV. I don't know, was his show on yet? The Wonder Years? Like I think his show was going.
I think so.
He would have been a big name.
Yeah.
And then Christian Slater, like he was already starting to garner quite a bit of success. Like he did Young Guns the following year. So this would have been like some of his early successes.
Yeah, dude. I read that he was in the movie, and I was like,
Young Guns too.
I couldn't place him. Like at first I was like, I thought maybe he was the dad. And then I was like, holy fuck, Christian Slater got fat. And then I realized, no, he's that fucking teenage son. I was like, holy fuck, Batman before he was Batman, man. He looks like a baby here. Yeah. So they play all these games, and I love that they get to Vegas for the World Championships, or LA or wherever the fuck they had to go, California for the championships. And they're like, what does Haley say? We have 3 days to get him good at every game they could throw at him, which is like 90 some games, like you said.
Yeah.
And so basically they take fucking Jimmy to this arcade that's in a casino. And apparently this arcade is full of cabinets with every NES game ever made in them. And he's just sitting there playing these games on these arcade cabinets while fucking Haley is calling one of the Nintendo counselors to get a tips on every NES game.
So that's a detail. Like, so Brittany, like watching this, she was like, they had hotlines for this? I'm like, oh, like, because she wasn't a gamer. Like, you know, she plays Nintendo Switch now and does a bit of gaming, but she didn't game back then. Like, there wasn't, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, yeah, they had hotlines. Like, I called it all the time. They had hotlines, they had magazines, they had shows. Like, what was that show where, you know, it's letter time.
Video and Arcade Top 10.
Yeah. Like they had shows dedicated to just showing, like, you know, video games, arcade games. They would go through tips, tricks, you know, codes, everything. And then you could write in letters. Same with these hotlines. Like these hotlines were huge.
Oh, the hotlines were a big deal back then. My biggest beef with this is the fact that like those hotlines were like $2.99 a minute or something. And fucking
ridiculously expensive.
And Haley just literally spends an entire weekend in a hotel room on the phone with this guy, as this guy tells her how to play every NES game in existence. And then she's writing down the notes, giving them to Fred Savage, who's taking them to Jimmy, who stays awake for 3 days straight in this casino arcade, playing every NES game ever. And they show him like playing like Mega Man and RC Pro-Am and Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah.
And like games that I'm like, first of all, you can't just pick up and beat this game. And it's like, and you certainly can't just pick up and beat it on an arcade cabinet. But apparently Jimmy the fucking hero, like, it's just blatantly them trying to squeeze in as many games as they can into this fucking movie. It's so stupid. I hate it. It literally, it like legitimately irritated me watching this. Because I was like, that's not how this fucking works. It takes years to
And I
get
don't
good at
know-
one of these fucking games. God damn it! That's why everyone that grew up in the NES era is good at like 3 games, because those were the 3 that you took the time to learn.
It takes you years to get good at those games.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not Jimmy. I'm not a kid with a lunchbox.
Not Jimmy Woods.
Not Jimmy fucking Woods. So that bothers me. Watching him like apparently learn how to play every NES game in a weekend, that bothers me. The fact that this fucking NES counselor knew how to beat every game and could explain them all to her over the phone that bothered me. But what bothers me more...
I don't think... No. So the counselor didn't know how to beat every one of those games. They had binders with walkthroughs.
Right.
And this is pre-internet. So they're like basically Nintendo, the developers, would have written like a walkthrough on all the details of the game and then given it to these hotlines.
Right. Yeah. Right? They show him like in his like cubby with all these binders everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't know fuck all. He's just, regurgitating information from a binder.
But still,
he probably never even played a Nintendo.
Fucking doofus. Plot twist. That's Lucas's older brother. Oh, teaching Jimmy how to beat Lucas. He's like, I want that kid to fucking give me back the TV, so beat him. So that bothers me. But what bothers me more than that, probably the thing that irritates me the most, is the way that their dad plays NES. Because it's like it's like you mentioned, sure, it irritates me the way they don't like hook them up properly and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just like, every kid watching this knows how these games work. We've all played the original Ninja Turtles. And when Christian Slater wakes up in that greasy hotel and he looks at his old man who's sitting on the floor, literally looks like he's fucking like going into fucking like shock, just shaking, and his eyes are wide open and he's losing his mind, and he's like, I got the scroll weapon on level 3 and I almost beat Mecha Turtle or fucking whatever. And then they finally show the screen that he's playing, and it's the very first sewer, full health, Leonardo. There's not even any enemies around. It's just Leonardo walking. And I just was like, that's not how people play these. It fucking really...
it drove me crazy.
It drives me insane. It's just like the box art on these old NESs and stuff like that, where you see the entire family gathered around and like everyone's freaking out and excited while Billy's playing Mario, but he's on like the first level getting that first mushroom. And I'm like, nobody's excited by this. What the fuck? This is not how games are played. It really bothers me. I'm sorry. It's just, if you're gonna make a piece of art and it's gonna revolve around something like playing video games, then do a little bit of fucking homework. You're Nintendo. You know how people play these games. Like, I would like to believe Shigeru Miyamoto watched this and was so mad at the way that they were fucking like jumping and like freaking out with their controllers. And it's like, that's not how anyone plays the first level of Ninja Turtles ever. Fuck you.
But then if they actually showed how people play video games, it would be a kid sitting there, a little bit of drool dripping down his face, eyes unblinking, totally bloodshot, just looking at out the window and seeing the sun come up and being like, oh fuck.
Yeah, but I would prefer that, because I can relate to that. I know how that works. Fucking drives me insane. Like, just and then like, dude. So I actually was Ninja Turtles might get the most screen time of any game in this movie. Like, it's got to be up there. It gets a lot of screen time. Like, Ninja Turtles shows up all the time.
That or Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Turtles, they were both on there quite a bit. Because Gaiden was up there three scenes or something, and Ninja Turtles same.
Turtles, like, I mean, the Ninja Gaiden one kind of surprises me, because I'm like, really? Like, that's a big game for you guys? The Ninja Turtle one makes complete sense, because, like, again, if you weren't growing up in this era, like, not only was NES fucking king, but the Ninja Turtle, like, that's why that game is one of the best selling games on the NES. It's not a great game. It's just it's
hard.
Oh, it's so hard. But that's my point. Is like, I get that they had to put this in the movie because they were like, well, Ninja Turtles is huge, NES is huge. Let's show that we have Ninja Turtles on the NES, and now we'll sell a bunch more games. I get all that. What bothers me is that this fucking dad who's never played a game before, who thinks it's stupid, has apparently gotten further in his, like, the first night that he played this than I have in 35 years. When he's like talking about like some of the people that he's fought, and then they show him on the first level, and I'm like, no, Pixar, it didn't happen. You did not fucking get to those final levels. You lying sack of shit. Fucking drives me crazy.
Oh, he did. It runs in the family. He's also a savant.
Yeah. Fuck. Dude, what a stupid movie. I don't know. Like, if it did not have NES in it, would you like it?
And as stupid as it was a fun movie. if it didn't have an NES in it, I would have probably had to watch it in film studies and fucking hated it.
Right. Like, listen, a whole bunch of us that grew up in this area not in this area, this era, we all love this movie. I get it. Like, because we all grew up around it and we all love Nintendo and stuff like that. But we all know this movie sucks, right? Like, nobody's going into this flick being like, this is a great movie. Like, you're watching it because they've referenced some Nintendo and there's a couple silly, stupid scenes, but like the acting sucks in it. The writing sucks. There's plot holes everywhere. Nothing about it makes any sense. I almost wonder if you would enjoy it more not being a diehard Nintendo fan, because then maybe you wouldn't notice all the little mistakes. Like, maybe you would enjoy it more that way if you didn't know all the things that are wrong in it. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's what I think, because I think a lot of that stuff is details that we're picking out. But if you didn't play video games, like, it would just be like, oh yeah, they're bonding over the video game. Sweet.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
like, it would just seem like more of a feel good story, right?
Sure. Like, if the movie was all about like building houses, I don't know anything about building houses. So they could be building these houses and like a framer is watching this and they're like, you can't put a 3/10 joist at that angle with those nails. That whole house is going to come down. Whereas I'm watching it like, oh wow, father and son are building a house. Yeah, that's fucking cool. So maybe that's how people look at it. But I can't
That's super legit. I go back and I watch Enemy at the Gates and like the World War II stuff, the sniping, no idea. Nothing about that. But there's a scene where they're fighting in a factory and I'm like, those electric motors weren't invented back then. That type of ducting didn't exist back then. What the fuck are they doing in this movie? So I mean, that probably happens.
But now we sound like the fucking nerds on Simpsons when the voice of Itchy and Scratchy's doing the Q&A at the comic book shop. And one of the three nerds from The Simpsons asks about how Itchy plays Scratchy's ribs like a xylophone and strikes the same bone twice in a row, but makes two different sounds. And he's like, what are we supposed to believe? This is like a magic xylophone? and then like Homer shuts him down. I feel like that's maybe what we're doing. We're like, oh, is this just like a magical NES that doesn't have to be hooked up or turned on properly? And then apparently everyone that plays it is instantly really good at these video games that we literally played for 20 years and weren't able to beat. Like, I get it. Like, but like if they had made the movie more realistic and this fucking fat dad had sat down and been like, I tried to play that Ninja Turtles game last night. I can't get past the first sewer. The game's impossible. Fuck this. Like, that's horrible advertising. So I get it, but I still hate it. I hate that. I hate the way that this kid plays all these incredibly difficult games with arcade sticks and he's fine. I hate the fact that apparently everyone in the world knew the warp whistle in Mario 3 existed, despite the fact that 90 seconds earlier they didn't even know that Mario 3 fucking existed. I hate that Lucas is such a shitty actor. I hate that he makes it out to be that the Power Glove is good when the Power Glove fucking sucks. I hate that Tobey Maguire was apparently a bully as opposed to being the hero he should have been. There's nothing good about this movie, but I love it anyways. I love it anyways, but it sucks. I'm done.
So that's the sign of a great movie. You can't find one good thing about it, but it entertained the shit out of you.
Yeah, you're probably right. Listen, guys, if you've never seen it, look it up. It looks like it's on Amazon Prime, but only in the States. Because here in Canada, like I paid $3 to rent it.
Yeah, you can. I think on iTunes you can get it for $4. On Amazon, probably cheaper. But it's and like it's solidly filmed too. It has a beginning, middle, and end. It's not something that you can't watch. Like I said, Doom. I can't watch that movie. I sat down and tried watching it recently and was like, man, this is dog shit through and through. The lines, the acting, everything. Like, that's a different podcast we should do. But like this, you can watch it. Like it's entertaining. You know, all the plot holes, all the fucking mistakes with showing how people play video games, all of that. It's still watchable and still entertaining.
Yeah,
it's still a good movie.
It is. Like, you and I reviewed the Mario Brothers movie on here, and I shat all over that movie, even though I love it, because it sucks. This is a better movie than the Mario Brothers movie. Like, I enjoy watching this more than I enjoy
Mario Brothers movie.
That.
With the Mario Brothers movie, I like it because of nostalgia, not because it's good. This, I liked it. Like, I watched it last night thinking I was going to, with my adult eyes, be like, oh, this is fucking terrible. And like, I liked it. If it was on TV, if I just was scanning the channels and found that on TV, I'd sit and watch it.
Yeah, you're right. I probably would too. And I know it's not, I don't think it's like, critically, I don't think this is a good movie. But you're right. I had fun watching it. I would watch it again. If I see it on TV, I'd watch it again. So I'm like, I guess by that account, it is a good movie. Because it's just turn your brain off and enjoy the, like, I I think it has more staying value for people like in our age bracket that grew up in the 80s with the NES. Like if you grew up in the 90s, 2000s, and you didn't grow up with the NES, you might watch it and be like, this is kind of dumb. But like for those of us that grew up in that era, like this, oh God, it just takes you back to being fucking like 7 or 8 again and discovering these games for the first time. And again, going back to like thinking some of these games are better than they were because this was just the game you had. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of how this how this movie felt. I don't know. I'm done. I don't know what else to say. I hate it, but I love it. Like yeah. You got any thoughts before we wrap this up and close it down and score it? Did I miss anything?
Fun fact. Luke Edwards, the guy who played Jimmy Woods, also was in Jeepers Creepers 2 and Newsies.
I've never seen.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right.
Yeah, well.
All right. Well, this movie.
You're not missing out.
This movie came out in 1989. So, on a scale of 1 to 1989, what would you score The Wizard?
When did the Nintendo come out? The original Nintendo.
I want to say 84. Someone's gonna fucking freak out on me with that.
I'm giving it a 1984 then.
Oh,
came out in 1983.
83. Okay.
I'm giving it a 1984 though.
Wow, that's a fucking good score.
I'm giving it a George Orwell score.
I don't think I can go that good. You know what? I'd fucking give it. Oh Jesus! So I said 84. You said 83, and it came out in North America in 85. So I'm sorry, everybody. Don't fucking yell at us. You know what? I'd probably give it like a 1700. Like it's like a 7 out of 10. It's fine. It's dumb. Go into it knowing that it's not going to be great, and just enjoy the cheesy video game play, and you'll be fine. It's not like they're the only ones, dude. Have you ever seen the clip of like when Will Smith is playing NES on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but like the NES isn't even hooked up? Like it's like he's just playing it, but it's not hooked up to anything. Like it's not the only they're not the only show to be criminal commit the crime of not accurately portraying video games. It's just that their whole movie is a commercial for video games.
Yeah, everyone does it. Like there isn't a television show, a fucking movie, or a porno that people are actually playing video games properly. There isn't any kind of media that you can watch where people are actually playing video games. Like I can't believe that there's no video gamer on any production company that's like, hey, actually, like that's a weird detail that we can just hammer out and it'll be super accurate. And fix anytime.
Agreed. That drives me like I'm almost tempted to pitch a show to the networks where they're like, I have no idea what the story's going to be, the plot, the characters, I just want it to be about video games, and I want them to look like they actually know how to play video games. I'm like, we can figure all the rest later. I just want to look like we know what we're doing. Because it drives me fucking bananas.
We'll rebrand Adam Sucks at Video Games, and it'll actually just be a TV show now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll be called Adam Knows How to Play Video Games. Adam accurately portrays playing video games. Good stuff, man. That was fucking. I've been wanting to cover this stupid movie for quite a while, so I hope we did it service. And thanks for doing this, buddy. It was fun. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Fred Savage is gonna send you an email, some hate mail. Good. Man, I listened to your podcast. What the fuck, dude?
Fred, if you hear this, I would happily bring you on the show to talk about this movie. Happily.
Yeah.
Anyone but Jimmy. Jimmy's not welcome on my show. I hate that kid.
Well, he was in Jeepers Creepers too. He's way bigger of a star.
That's true. Maybe I'll try to find Lucas and bring him on the show. That'd be fun. I'm gonna try to find him. All right. Good stuff, buddy. Thank you for doing this, Tyler. Fuck yeah.
No problem.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Tyler, thank you so much for giving me a call and geeking out about The Wizard with me. And to every single one of you hearing my voice right now, thank you so much for supporting me, supporting the show, supporting Remember the Game Industries. If you're enjoying what we do, please consider supporting us on Patreon too. It's only $2 a month. The best time of year to sign up is the first couple days of the month because you can get in on the Patreon poll. You get a whole month of extra podcasts before you're going to get charged again, so you can decide if it's worth your $2. It is, I promise. Probably it is. It helps me out so much. It's win. So please consider it. This Sunday's episode of Expansion Pass will be me ranking my top 10 favorite RPGs of all time. There's over 50 bonus podcasts over there waiting for you guys as well. So check that out. We also have a P.O. box that I need to try to remember to plug more often. You can find the full address at rememberthegamepodcast.com. But the P.O. box is Remember the Game, P.O. Box 69181, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. T6 Victor 1 Gary 7. Don't worry about sending any big gifts. Please don't send me any bombs or poop or anything. Just a postcard or a letter. Something, tell me where you're listening. I Remember the Game postcards here. I'll send you one back. We could be like pen pals. It'll be kind of, okay, it's pretty lame, but it'd be kind of cool at the same time. And then check me out on Twitch. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday nights from 8 to 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Twitch.tv. And then look for Member the Game, not Remember. Member the Game. Just hit me with a follow. It's free. Then you'll see whenever I'm online. We have a great community over there that's very welcoming. You can come in, give me a hard time, give them a hard time. I'll give you a hard time. And it's just hard times all around. Fucking hard. And that'll do it, you guys. I'll be back on Friday for our Patreon supporters with Game Patch 16.0. I'll be back on Sunday for Patreon supporters with Expansion Pass number 37, I think. And I'll be back on Monday with Game Patch 16.0 for the free feeds. And then I'll be back next Wednesday, 7 days from right now, with episode 127 of Remember the Game. Thanks for listening, you guys, and I will talk to you all again soon. I'm going to go stumble through the Patreon shoutouts now. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I just could not produce all the podcasts I'm churning out each week without your support. So I'd like to take a quick moment to thank every single person that has supported us at patreon.com/rememberthegame. So a huge heartfelt thank you to Aaron Cuphall, Aaron Lawson, Adam Anderson, Adam Beasley, Adam Oshirello, Alan C., Alex Martinez, Andre, Andrew Halupchuk, Andrew Wright, Andy Baker, April Zane, Arpad Bodos, Ashley Cronenbitter, Badar Barhumi, Ben Booya, Ben Busha, Ben Drinkin, Bradley McHugh, Brandon O'Brien, Brian McKay, Brian Medeiros, Brian Ransom, Bullfrog, Charlie M., Chris Campbell, Chris Fleury, Chris Wilson, Christopher Russell, Chuck Schlarp, Corey, Craig Rutt, Crash Bandicoot, Chris Knife 007, Dan T, Danny Vega, Dario Omen, Dave L, Dave McGee, Dave Thompson, David Ray, David Schnatterer, Desert Tortoise, Divalk, Du Howe, Dominic S. Thompson, Doug Dorn, Doxor, Dylan, Eric Cannard, Evan Refuse, Fraser Burns, Gary C., Geek Life Radio, Grant Robertson, Grimpy, Henri SJA Flash, James Clark, Jared, Jason Adams, Jason Cortez, Jake Clutch, Jeff Johnson from Game on GNT, Jeffrey Mathis, Jer Bear, Joe Buck, Joe Gillespie, Joe Mack, John Doskus, John Quack, Jordan, Josh Morgan, Josh from the Press Start to Join podcast, Kate Roberts, Casey Rarick, Keegs, Kevin Chincholo, Kevin Donlin, Kevin Hufford, CryptoBox, Kyle Paul, Lane Orr, Leon Knapskog, Les Winan, Luca, Mackenzie Wheeler, Mark Jones, Mark McHugh, Mark 209, Martin Greenwood, Matt McLean, Matthew Davis, Michael Mathis, Michael Haig, Mike Mallowaney, Miklos Blackshaw, Miles from BringBackRetro.com, Morgan, Mr. Impressive, Mr. Nick, Wolverine Films, Nathan Tremblay, Nathan W., Nick Sills, No One Cares, OG Big Titus, PB McFadden, Peebs, Retro Ghosty Ghost, Rex, Robert Fuchsia, Robert L., Rome21, Ryan Bayshore, Ryan Kinchin, Ryan Yeager, Scott Brooks, Scott V., Sean Razine, Sharonic, Slick Rick, Starro Probin, Stupid Monkey, Super Mary Ho, The Giraffe, The T-Word, Thomas D. Reynolds, Tim L., Tim Riel, Todd, Tom, Tony, Travis, Trevor Hillier, Tyler, Very Cool Dude, Vincent L., Vladstein, Whiteboro, Wyman Brooks, Xwater, Yamcha, Zane Donovan, Silver Grunion, and Tony Chirichetti. Thank you all so much. I fucking almost nailed that one. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to you again in a few days. Thank you so much for the support. You guys are the best, and I love all of you but one, and you know which one it is. Cheers.